Hey friends, it's Chris. Welcome to the Elskavon podcast and Happy New Year to you and yours. I know for so many people it's good riddance to 2020 and understandably so. But I also hope you, in the midst of the chaos of 2020, you had some really good times as well, be it with family or new hobbies or making music or maybe just catching up on sleep. For me, personally, one of the highlights of 2020 was releasing an Elskavon album with my friend John Hayes. It's called Do Nord, and we released it with Western Vinyl on November 20th. And that is what we are looking at today in this episode. In the past, I've dissected just one song with each new episode here. This one's a bit different. John and I jumped on Zoom, and we went back and walked through the entire album together. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for your support for my music and with the podcast, and I hope you enjoy this one. Here we go. All right, John, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, sir. What's going on with you?
Not much. I think we sort of figured out this Zoom Logic audio technology situation, sort of, kind of.
Piecing it together, like of 2020.
Yeah.
Just doing
True.
what we can.
Yes. I always think I'm pretty good with audio routing and stuff like that until I have to do something over the internet, like live streaming audio or this, and it's a struggle.
You're better at it than I am, so I would have no clue with the streaming audio type stuff.
It's a struggle. So, Do Nord, our album, It's been out a couple weeks now.
Yeah, it's been like coming up on 2 weeks almost.
Yes. And so what I did here is I'm sharing my screen with John here, and I've got all our stems from the whole album that we're going to look at. So normally in past episodes, I've kind of taken one song of mine and really I pulled up the session and dug into everything behind it, with the writing and the production decisions, with plugins, all sorts of different parts and everything. So we're sort of going to do that here with our songs. It's a little different in that we're probably not going to spend as much time on the minute details of the production, but we're going to just kind of talk through the album, and I can play individual stems here, and if we go off on a rabbit trail, then
But hey, Chris, hold on.
So be it.
My thing stopped recording.
We sort of figured out this Zoom Logic audio technology. So, up first, we're looking at Vermilion, which is I don't know what you would call it. It's definitely our most out-of-the-box track, as far as style or genre or whatever.
And it kicks off the album, too. Kind of maybe just sets a tone of a little out-there-ness right off the beginning.
Right. I remember, this was one of the tracks. This was one of the later tracks on the album that we finished up, right?
Yeah. Yep. This is, I think, gotta be last or second to last track, I think, that we did. And I think I remember when we were even like demoing this song, we were like, on any demos that we were putting together, we were like, we have to have this one first.
Yeah.
Let's grab attention.
Totally. Yeah. It is so different than everything else, or at least it ended up. Instrumentation-wise, it's not that different, but just the feel of it, it's, I hate to say dancey, but it's got, 4 on the floor kick, going through most of it, and then just tons and tons of layers of like plucks. So it's still like mostly kind of an organic, natural instrumentation sound, I guess, but just kind of everything together. So I got the stems here. I'm gonna, what's interesting, I got, so it starts with these piano plucks. I'll play a couple here, solo these. Which, this sort of thing was a theme throughout, where I think we did that here, where we're like holding the string of your piano. Is that right?
Yeah, the muted plucks, which is...
That became a signature of Du Nord, I feel like. Was it just me? Maybe I was just obsessed with it. I kept telling you to do that. But like...
Yeah, well, we had been... I think I had been doing that on a couple other tracks of mine, just like messing around with doing stuff like that. And I remember, I think I saw like Hanya Rani did it in one of her music videos.
Sure.
She's doing like a muted pluck thing, and I thought that was so cool how you'd like turn it into kind of a more textured.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a great sound. I'm obsessed with it. I feel like we probably did that on at least 4, 5, maybe even half the album. I don't know. Probably at least
it's sprinkled all over the place. It's just like a organic element throughout the album.
Yeah. So steady plucks we had going with the piano, several layers of it, looks like. And then I'm looking at here. What's another? Here's another. So this is not piano plucks, but it's your piano, but we like resampled it basically. I remember I kind of went in, and you can kind of hear that's obviously not you just sitting down playing that part, but you played something higher up on the keys like that, and then we kind of resampled it and put it in throughout, so just a steady rhythm basically. It's almost like a hi-hat element.
That was kind of the idea behind that too, is I took the usually I play with the felt on in my piano just so it's not so loud here in my apartment, but for that, just on the higher register, I stripped off the felt for that, and just kind of did a little rhythmic thing on the high end. And I feel like a lot of stuff. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of little elements like that are in there that it's like not really a standout part of it, but when they're all put together, it's kind of
right.
That's what makes it.
If you could see the Logic session right now that John and I are looking at, it's of all the songs, Vermilion by far has the most stems. We've got like close to 20 here, which is probably even more tracks than that in the session itself. But when I stem stuff out, I combine some things here and there. But let's talk about the percussion, because I feel like the percussion is what
kind of led the whole direction of the song, or at least the initial ideas of it, kind of.
Yep.
Don't you think?
For sure. Yeah. I'll just play some layers here. So we've got, and some of these I named. So I named the stems, obviously, when I print them, but I don't always remember exactly what it was. Like, this is called Earth Percussion, which I think these were samples from, I'll play it here, but I think these were actually samples that I recorded up in Duluth when I went up there with a friend and just took a Zoom field recorder and just took a bunch of samples. And then a bunch of recordings by the Lake Superior up there, and we just kind of placed them in.
Yeah,
so we have some samples or like loops that we created for the song, but then we did some live recording in the studio of percussion as well.
Yeah, there's like weren't we like slapping our legs at one point?
Yes. I have that stem. What did I call it? Lap percussion. Yeah. There it is. So this one, at least, we were just like scraping something on clothing, I think, basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of like just hitting ourselves, kind of. But it's funny when it's all stacked together. That's kind of the. I feel like it's kind of what ties the whole rhythm together, almost, at least in my mind.
Yeah, and then here's some wood percussion layers. So this was just, if you remember, we went out to my garage and like grabbed random pieces of wood that I had lying around. I've done this for a handful. Whoever listened to my last episode, I did the same thing on that track. So it's been kind of a thing for me lately, but I just love the variety you get with different types of wood. And then even just like hitting it with a drumstick up and down, like gives you different timbres and tones and whatnot. So we just layered so much of this together, just using. So like there you can hear this layer. I think was probably using the mallets rather than an actual drumstick.
Yeah.
So many layers, lots of processing on this one. We had some melodic elements too. We have like kind of some subtle hooks, if you will, melodic hooks throughout.
Yeah, those cello melodies and the crazy violins that come in are kind of the main melodic elements that carry it throughout. Which I think that's what we were missing for the longest time when we were putting this together. Is we had this really cool rhythm and we had all that stuff, but we were like, how do we get it all together? Like we need some kind of melodic element to it. And the cellos and the violin plucks, they really did that.
Yeah. So this is just the cello I'm playing. So it's definitely like a blend of, this is my friend Alex Berglund on strings. And then obviously we processed it with some delays and reverbs here and there. But he did a great blend of like rhythmic elements, but then hinted on some melodic parts as well. Here's a cello.
Correct me if I'm wrong. When you sent this stuff to Alex, we didn't really have like. He is amazing with stuff that he would just come up with and
direction. Right? Yeah. No, I think we had him on 3 songs, I think, and
he's amazing on all of them.
Yeah, I don't remember giving him too much direction on any of it. He just kind of like, I've worked with him. I mean, we used to work at the same place full time together, and so we really kind of got to know each other's styles and like, he kind of just gets it when I send him something. He kind of gets what we're going for. I'll maybe give him a little tidbit of direction, but yeah, not much of this. He just did several layers.
Really good.
It's killer.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to it, but that kind of like sums up stuff like this. We like this one, you're hearing that melody that kind of repeats, or that motif, or whatever you would want to call it. This one is like a dirty Wurlitzer, totally distorted, totally crushed. So on its own, like, it's a mess. But, you blend it in the mix. It's mixed with that cello playing this. Piano is probably playing this at some point. And,
yeah, that's the thing I think with this song, more than most of the other ones, is all the elements together complement each other. So, I guess that was kind of a theme of the album too, is there is usually every little piece kind of had its, there's really a direction for every element of.
Yeah.
They all complement each other, which I think was kind of our goal.
Yeah.
But I think this song, more than than most, I think really kind of accentuates that idea.
Totally. I'm trying to remember, did you play the bass? It's just like a sub bass. I can't remember what we played that.
No, I think we did that just in your studio. We were coming up with like a bass line.
Yeah, I can't remember what. Maybe you were playing it. I was just messing with the mod wheel or something. But that like wobble at the end of some of the phrases. I don't remember if it was an analog synth or soft synth.
It wasn't any of mine. It wasn't any of my synths.
Okay.
I think we played this at your studio.
Yeah, most of this we recorded at my place, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Vermilion. I mean, definitely glad we started the album with this.
And I think that is funny. I think once we finished that song too is when we started getting really excited about the album.
Yeah.
We were like, oh man, we might have something here. We finished off, once we got that song, we were like, we started getting really stoked about it. Man, we might have something here. Oh wait, no, I'm hitting record now. 3, right, do it again.
1,
3.
Definitely not in sync. All right, Itasca number 2. This, I'd have to say, if I had to pick one, this is my favorite off the album.
You're saying it's probably one of the simplest songs on the album as well. At least from an ideas standpoint, it's just pretty much just a one chord progression that just repeats.
Yeah, just 4 times through of an A section, basically, right? Is that?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't change.
I always, that's interesting because I always like internally, I feel like I always have to like, every song has to have a B section and a C section, or at least a verse, chorus, blah, 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 whatever you want to call it. But it's like, no, not always. It's actually like more of a challenge to make an A song interesting, you know?
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely something to that. If you have something that can, sustain that time frame or that loop, if you have something interesting enough right away, then it's just the challenge of duplicating that throughout the track.
Right. Yeah. So you came up with the piano part. I loved it instantly. You were just messing around and you were recording, not fully expecting or whatever to have it be like, oh, this is the take we're recording. But I loved it so much. I was like, okay, this is it. I think you gave me the demo or whatever we wanted to call it at the time. I brought it back and I was like, no, this is it. There's something like magic to this first take. So the only thing that we then had to figure out was like at the end of a phrase, you kind of like quit pretty quickly. And I was like, oh, we need this to like blend with the next phrase.
It needs to be a rhythm, at the end. It kind of just abruptly ends.
Right. So what do we do? You recorded room noise and just sent that to me?
Yeah, I just turned my mics on and just in my studio, just kind of recorded the room noise to give it some like additional space to blend. Yeah,
to match. And so I took that, and I remember I also took like the last piano chord and I actually like copied and pasted it back to this section that needed some blending, if you will. And I like reversed it and like crossfaded it up. So you can't tell. It's not like you can hear, that he's reversing a piano note there. It's just like I used that and elongated it or something to make it to make it match. So basically like making it work, band-aiding to make that first take work, because there was something special about that.
I think with that first take too, it was still just trying to figure out the general rhythm of how we were gonna do it, and but yeah, it ended up all going together nicely.
Yeah, and then I think I did a lot of the layers to complement your piano. I think just on my own, I remember, but I did. What do we got here? Mandolin will play. A lot of these layers, I'm just playing the chord progression. I'm not doing a lot of. We have a little melody later on, simple, couple notes playing a melody, but like most of these layers are just playing the chords, just really simple, just to kind of complement that piano part. So I'm gonna play. This is mandolin here. I have pan left and right, and then we had a couple electric guitar parts. Really close, tight, kind of warm feel on the electrics. pan them out quite a bit. Another layer here.
And it just kind of keeps building throughout the song. That's kind of the whole idea of the song. It's kind of.
There's a Rhodes.
Now that I think about it too, Itasca being like the mouth of the Mississippi, it just kind of starts slow and easy, and then it just kind of turns into this kind of like epic big thing.
I like that. Never thought of that. You're alluding to the title of the track, Itasca.
Right. Yep.
Which in reference to Lake Itasca up north here in Minnesota. And we intentionally named all our tracks parts or like in reference to some part of Minnesota. And so that was definitely like a theme throughout, or it is a theme for this whole album.
Yep. So Itasca being it's where, for people who aren't from Minnesota, it's where where the Mississippi River starts is up north here in Minnesota.
Yep. I'm gonna play the strings here.
You sent this one went to Alex as well, didn't I?
Yep. So Alex played on this one as well. Again, you're probably right. I don't think we gave him a lot of direction on this one either. There's some legato pad stuff going on, and then he complimented the plucks, so the tight, close, like warm, softly played pluck thing is like an obsession with this album, I think, in general, be it piano, strings, did some guitar there, so most of the stuff we're playing live, like with our hands if we're doing the pluck stuff. So it's like every pluck is gonna be different in some way, There's definitely like a obvious like humanness to playing stuff, especially when you play it that quiet, I feel.
That's kind of goes back to the whole initial recording, how just having that human element to it that I think we both really like.
Yeah, so there's 4 sections of chord progression, or 4 instances of it, and the last 2 we play this melody here. We added like bells and Rhodes playing that here. That's really it for melody on this one.
Yeah. Which I love how simple that melody is. It's just pretty much an octave on the...
Yeah, and the ending, we don't go back to the one. We just kind of hold this. And I love what Alex did with just like the plucks. And we have some of that on the mandolin and guitar. Mm-hmm. Just kind of playing randomly like that. That's that.
Mm-hmm. That's Itasca.
Refrost, our 6/8 song. This is all MS-20.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think there's 4 different layers of it. Verbed out. Creates the atmosphere.
A lot of different automations and processing.
What's that?
A lot of little automations and processing.
Yeah, totally. I'm just gonna like add in all the ambient layers. This is number 2. Violin. Ukulele that we totally verbed out. We turned a ukulele into a soundscape, basically.
Yeah.
More synth ambience here. I just keep adding stuff in. Lots of layers of ambience, pads, stuff like that. This one gets thick with that stuff.
Yeah, this one definitely, I really love the atmosphere that this kind of builds.
All right, and then this, the pluckiness, again, a theme. This is actually a couple ukulele layers. I'll solo just that. And then bring in violin. And you kind of have that steady pluck again. We do have a subtle kick on this one. That kind of like builds up slowly but surely.
Was this just us, or was this just you drumming maybe in your studio? The kick?
Yeah. So it's a sampled kick, but the snares, we just recorded in my studio. I'll play the kick and snare here. I think we had like 6 to 8 layers of snares, side sticks, snares, stuff like that.
Yeah, there was a lot going on with that.
But it's subtle in the mix, and that was a decision we made. It's not like, oh, the drums are in and it just like explodes or anything like that. It's like we wanted to
talking about initially they weren't as subtle, and we kind of realized that we were like, maybe we should kind of dial those back a bit.
Right. Yeah. We wanted to keep this one in the clouds per se, still intentionally, but still have that rhythm, you know?
Yeah, I like that's kind of just it's restrained.
Yeah.
It's there, but there's definitely restraint on the, going over the top with it. Kind of instead of letting the like versus Vermilion where the kind of percussion carries it, this is kind of carried by those pads and ambience.
Yeah. So here's a stem, ambience flutter glitch, I call it. But that was definitely another thing we did quite a bit, is like bring in these like subtle glitchy elements to songs as a background. So obviously we played a bunch of the like string pads and synth pads and whatnot, which are kind of like soft, clean soundscapes.
Yeah, they're kind of the body that's nice and clean, and then these kind of came in to give it texture and randomness. And
but bringing in that like glitchy element was kind of like our thought with this stuff, where it's like things kind of just like jump out at you. I don't remember.
And if you can hear it playing right now, it's completely random. There's no rhyme or reason for when something sticks out or jumps out. That's kind of that randomness.
Oh, I forgot this song has banjo. Here you go. Just for one part, it just builds. So it builds this part, then it stops until kick and snare come back in. And then this, at the very end, the transition from this track to, I'm going to say it wrong, Le Tour, to track number 4, was, would you call it an accident, I guess? We had our little like sequencing session up after all the songs were done, recorded, all the mixes were done, and we're kind of just getting ready for mastering. And
we had that, and we were like, wow, these transition really nicely.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Alex, I think, just had played quite a bit longer after. I can't remember if I asked him to do that or not, but it worked out really nice where you just have this steady tremolo violin pad going that you can hear. And then it just goes right into the next track. I'm going to have to play it here. 1 second. So this refrost ends, and you just got this. And then once we had that crossfaded across the mixes, and then you're into the next track.
Yeah, you're right into the next track, which I love. I mean, that's one of my favorite things when albums do that in their track listing, is just that kind of that effortless flow track to track. I think that's something that's so awesome about making full lengths, is where you can make decisions like that, where it's this almost feels like just an extended track. I mean, it's just too two blended tracks or almost. It's kind of like Refrost is kind of like going up and then you like break through the clouds and then it's boom, the toi, the stars, and it's just like super calming.
I love these metaphors, John. You're gonna have to keep going with these. No pressure.
Le toi.
All right, number 4, L'Étoile. This is so stupid. I looked up how to pronounce L'Étoile on YouTube before the session and sent it to John. And hey, now we know how to say it.
We've been saying it wrong.
We have. Shame.
I know.
Yeah, you came up with this title.
Yeah, the motto for the state of Minnesota is L'Étoile du Nord, which is Star of the North. And I think when we were recording this, it kind of has like that starry element to it, where it's like the flutters kind of.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I remember the whole idea behind this was like, let's play a consistent piano part that's slow. And by piano part, I mean like just chords, like play a chord and then around each chord, I had the idea of just adding to that chord, basically with other piano parts that are higher up, kind of like sprinkling around it with that chord, other elements. So we'll kind of show you the specific elements of what we're talking about. But yeah, this one we recorded at your old place, right? So this is probably one of the
old
earlier
studio. Yeah, this is another instance of just kind of like what we did on Itasca, where it's just one chord progression.
Yeah, so this is you. This is the main piano part that I'm soloing right now. This is the one where like you played it and then I was like, no, slower, right? And
I was playing this and Chris was sitting over my shoulder with his hand and signaling to me when I should play the next chord. And I was trying to like anticipate when he was gonna do it, but it was like slower, and yeah, it was probably one of the more. It was a funny recording session, that's for sure. It was just kind of like being like a conductor.
It probably looked ridiculous.
You were a conductor.
But who cares? We didn't have an audience in the studio. Just us. So this is the main piano part. And then, like I said, so this is kind of like carrying the weight of the song. And then we're just adding to these parts. So I'm gonna back up, play this. And then I'm gonna add these different parts. So I have these different backgrounds that we played around it. Next chord. Add notes in that chord. And you can kind of hear that main piano is pretty centered. Well, if you can hear depending on the medium you're listening to, if you can hear stereo, the main is pretty centered, and these additive parts are pretty spaced out left and right in the stereo field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they're all really randomly panned around too, if I remember.
Yeah. We've actually got some vocals on this one. I'm gonna solo those. More of like a soundscape bed, but it's vocals. Did you sing, John? I can't remember.
No,
this all me?
This is all you. Channeling that Bora York voice of yours into our project.
Cello. Yeah, cello, pizzicato just like randomly playing too. Just bits and pieces here and there. There's between the vocal, there's like one other layer of ambience and then your sub bass. Otherwise, it's just those additive parts. So this is the other kind of like.
The bass was something that we added quite late too. It was kind of just sitting, and then we realized that it kind of needed some weight to carry it.
Right. Is this a bass guitar? Like, did we
No, I think this is just like some synth in your studio that we.
No, I think this might be the bass guitar that we did like swells with. We did that on one song. If it's not this, it sounds like it to me, but it could be just
Maybe
a song.
I remember.
You're right.
I remember somebody. I remember playing
On the keys.
this in-
Okay, so it's a synth. One of the tracks we did bass guitar, but we did like swell and reverse type stuff. So
Yeah,
we made it kinda
I'm not sure if it was this one, but yeah.
yeah,
But that's pretty much.
that's pretty much
song.
it. Yeah.
This song was really kind of just a continuation of Refrost almost,
Totally.
and not like on accident, which
Yeah.
I think just turned out really, really well. I think it's a really cool moment in the album where they transition like that.
Yep. So next track, we'll jump right into "Cold Is Not So Cold," which was this the very first track that we wrote together. Yeah.
Yeah, in my old studio.
Because we start with this. I'm just going to solo this. Speaking of glitch elements, I remember this being one of the first things we did. So the story behind the album is like John and I had hung out a few times, gotten to know each other, decided we want to write together, but we had no intention of writing a full album or an EP or anything, or we weren't even worried about, we're going to write a single together, whatever. We're just going to write together. We're just going to get together. So I remember this is the first night I went over to your old apartment. I brought some pedals and some tape machines, and then we just used your synths. And so, yeah, this is the start of it, right? What you're hearing right now. Like
So
you
that's
had that piano part that'll play in a bit, but really quick on this part, this is like MS-20 just hitting one note over and over, but I recorded to my old Sony dictaphone cassette recorder, so it's really lo-fi, organic lo-fi. There's not like plugins on this, it's just like straight up how it sounds. And then we had stereo mics that we like waved that actual cassette player back and forth, so you get that panning also is totally organic or natural or whatever you want to call it that you're hearing. It's not like panned in Logic, it's just literally
It's being recorded live on a mic.
yeah. And when you do that with the cassette tape, you also get like wobble from the tape just being stressed.
It's weird phasing and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, so it's building up now. I'm gonna hit stop and back up though, and play you that main piano part that John came up with. So this right here started the whole album, I think. Between this piano part and that MS-20 glitch stuff. Had you ever like written this part, or were you just totally improvising here, John? Do you remember?
I can't remember. I don't think that I had this for anything else. I maybe had like played it a day or two before and liked it, so I think I had it like as a phone recording and just had been playing around with it for a couple days. And
Yeah.
that's usually what happens with a lot of my chord progressions. Is like I'll just be messing around, I'll like one, and then I'll just play it for a few days, and if I still like it after a day or two, it ends up maybe starting to develop into something.
Yeah. And this one, I mean, I don't know if it's just like that glitchy thing and we just kind of like are hitting that note over and over, but it's got like a darker feel to it. This is one of the darker as far as mood tracks on the album. It really builds up to the climax here.
It's kind of a transition point in the album too. Like if you think about the songs that come before it, how they're maybe a little more light.
What's your metaphor here for the transition? Your Minnesota metaphor that you're so good at. What do you got?
Probably changing of the seasons.
Winter
It's
is
like you have your
arriving.
night-
Dark,
you kinda have
cold
your
winter.
Yeah, this is kind of like the start of it turning to 40 below.
And it's fitting that we released this album in late November. Very fitting. So
yeah, no, this definitely kind of has that colder vibe.
All right, now we're looking at Closer, which I think is the last song we did on the album, if I remember correctly.
This was the last one that we kind of finalized and put together.
Yep. So, and you came up with most of this initially on your own at your place. You have several layers of piano happening.
Yeah, this is actually a demo for something else that ended up not being used. But I loved the chord progression. I had played it and I kind of had put it away for a while, but I was like, eventually I want to do something with this because I really did think that it could, turn into something. And I'm really glad that it did. I mean, we definitely did a lot of work on it afterwards, but
well, that was kind of fun. That's kind of what was fun about it. Like, you had written most of the parts actually, whereas a lot of the other songs, like, we would write a lot of the stuff together, but because you had written a lot of the specific melodic and chord parts already, when we got together for this, we had a lot of capacity to just like, okay, let's just try things mixing. Let's just try things.
Yeah, harmonically, it was all done. It was
Yep.
it was more just mixing decisions and can we add anything to it or
processing.
can we take
and that
away?
we added a few things, but not much. And it's just nice to have that creative capacity to, okay, we're not worried about writing parts right now, so let's just like see what we can do, like in Logic and in post.
This is more just like messing around with the.
So that's where you got you could hear the delay slowly fade in. That idea came in together. I'm gonna jump ahead here to this build. Yeah, this part is great. I loved how this ended up happening. We really were like, okay, let's really swell this up, and then
just a massive compression right there.
Yeah,
the drop.
Yeah, we really swelled that up with automation, and then boom, that next part is in.
Yeah.
Kind of like the main melody part here, and then
that top part is just all improv. I was just improvising that top. The main melody kind of.
Sure.
No plan on that at all. That was just.
This is your melodica, isn't it?
Yeah. That's my little trusty melodica that had just pitched down a ton.
Nice.
Yeah, it's funny because I had that before I have a harmonium now, which would probably do but before I had the harmonium, I would take my melodica and then I would just pitch it down a bunch and then put a bunch of reverb on it. It just gave it this huge space, which I thought was so funny for this like goofy little instrument that when you play it, it's just like the most nasally sounding
tinny
organ thing ever. But then you pitch it down, and it's like this epic bass thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Heinbach always says the best speed is half speed.
Yeah. This in Heinbach
so
we
true.
Trust.
Yes. So, and then I remember spending quite a bit of time on the outro here, just this very last piano part that starts it. So we have the delay. This is the very end. We have the delay very intentionally, like we start the track, no delay, and we fade up the mix of the delay. And then at the very end, that same track finishes the song, and the delay slowly fades away. So it's kind of like this foreshadowing, if you will, of the end of the track.
Yeah. It ties, the front end and the back end together. There's like a familiarity at the end with what you had at the front, which I really like that in songs where it starts one place, goes somewhere else, and then kind of takes you back home to kind of where you started. I like that structure, I guess.
Is that how you feel about Minnesota, John? Is that your Minnesota metaphor? You leave, and you enjoy going out west. You enjoy going
to Europe, whenever I go out to
always love coming back home to Minnesota.
It's true. I do love Minnesota.
Stupid. I'll leave the metaphors to you. You're better at that.
Yeah, I don't know if this one has a direct metaphor. I think this is the only song too that doesn't have a Minnesota reference in the title, really.
Like obvious, specific reference, sure.
Yeah.
That's okay. We live by our own rules, John.
Yep, that we do.
All right, for myself. Again, one that you wrote on your own. Sent it to me. I didn't do a lot with it, but the things I did do with it
Didn't carry it a lot. Yeah.
were interesting, I thought, in the sense that, like, I added a few layers, like extra layers on top of it. Like I have these chimes doing various swells and whatnot. A couple layers of these. But what I did mainly is I took your piano recording here back to the main recording, and I copied and pasted it to a few new tracks and then messed with those copies. So this is, again, the main recording, just from you.
Mm-hmm.
This is also your recording, but a mess with it big time, obviously.
Processed heavily.
Cut out, or I high-passed it quite a bit, cut out the low end, and you hear that wobbly. I can't remember if I sent this through tape or what, but there's a lo-fi aspect to it, obviously.
Did you run any of this through your Eurorack or your modular?
I might have. I can't remember. But so that's the first copy. Here's the second copy. I just brought it down an octave. So that's where we get our bass for this one. So I'm gonna play those two with the original. That definitely does not always work, to just like take a piano track or a recording and just bring it down an octave, but it worked here. I thought it gave it that thickness. And then one last layer, super thinned out layer, panned left. So those were all just duplicates of your recording that I just messed with, and it just, I did some processing with volume automation things as well.
Yeah, and I think it gives it a sense of life. I mean, this was a recording, I think, again, that had, this one, there's no intention of putting this on anything.
And then we just had a field recording in there as well. Don't remember what this was from, but just a subtle field recording outside, I think.
Yeah, just to give it a little life.
Yep, that's that. All right, Due Nord, title track.
Title track. I love when you get the title track.
We make you wait for it here. We make you wait for it. Wait for it.
Wait for it. Wait.
Yeah, this one, I mean, we did a lot of writing these tracks together, but this one was the only, like, from start to finish improv live recording together, as far as I can remember.
Yeah, it was like one or two takes that we did.
Yeah, and
Maybe I think this is the first time that I had actually gone over to your studio.
was it? Okay, yeah. You were playing the mini log, I remember, which I've since sold, but yeah, you were just messing around with that, but we went straight into my little humble Eurorec modular system. So I was using like mutable instruments clouds for kind of like granular and kind of like a reverb feel, and a little bit of maths for some modulation. But yeah, definitely. I mean, you were just like straight up improvising on the mini log, right? You didn't have any plan
It was just
as you were writing.
there was like 2 chord progressions. There was like a 3 chord progression or something, and then or it starts off really light, and then it kind of just goes to this like super verbed out, just like massive ambience, kind of like wall coming at you.
Yeah, so that's the roots of it, really. It's just you on the Minilog synth and me processing it live. We added a couple things. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the plucks would be the only thing that was added.
Yeah, there's a couple things. Like there's like a subtle tape loop ambience. And we actually did some Rhodes as well, just like reverse Rhodes. But the main thing, those are pretty quiet in the mix. The main thing that you were alluding to there is like these plucks I did with my violin, which I don't know at all how to play violin, but I know how to pluck it like a guitar. So
going back to our theme of plucks throughout the album.
Yeah. And so what I did there is I just did several layers of that, and you kind of hear that near the end as it builds and whatnot, and that's that. But like you said, for 2/3 of it, it's pretty light. It's
a little mellower, It's not as heavy.
Yep, and then it just like slowly turns dark. All right, Sibley and Sugan are separate tracks, but not really.
Same, but different.
Yeah, so Sibley is just like 20 seconds, if that. Just an old little tape recording of you just messing around on Rhodes, and then you hear.
I messed up the rhythm. I had that chord progression. I had that chord progression written in my head for like a week. And then I got there and I was trying to play it on the Rhodes, and I was trying to play it. I think I had just messed up the rhythm a couple times. I remember getting really frustrated not being able to play it because I had just played it on my piano like a day before. And I was like, all right, I got this. Mm-hmm. This is fine.
But then I don't know what gave me the idea of just like, let's put that little recording where you just go at the end in right before we start the full song where we recorded the Rhodes.
Well, it's funny. I've gotten people have messaged me about that song in particular and saying that they like that, which is funny.
It's like unexpected. It's like a personal invitation into the studio with us or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I love little things like that where it's like a real. You just know that it's just like real people on the other end making the songs. Just that really human element to it. Like there's like so many albums just sound perfect start to finish, and that's not how they were actually made. I like hearing that, like kind of like oops part happened.
Clean perfection, those are things we did not strive for with Du Nord, that's for sure. And then so Sugan is you playing Rhodes throughout. We processed it a bit, but the one part I did want to like solo here is these like ambient vocal chop sampled things that I threw in over the top.
Ambient chopped sampled vocal things. Yeah.
It almost sounds like some sort of horned instrument or something like that, like distorted out. But that's just vocals that I just like threw in throughout near the end.
Yeah. It almost sounds like kind of like a oboe or clarinet or something.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
somebody who doesn't know how to play the clarinet trying to play the clarinet.
No, it's just somebody who doesn't know how to sing. That's me. But it's, I don't know, there's a haunting element about this song. Not that it's like a dark progression per se, but just the like, I think with you playing it on the Rhodes, and so like these weird vocal chops just came to mind to give it this like haunting touch or something.
But I think they definitely complement the progression. I think this is one that after we had the Rhodes recording, you did most of the processing on this one, and then you just sent it back over.
I think so. Yeah. And then the very last one, Lobby. You messed around on piano with your little cassette tape machine, I believe, right?
Yes, I have the world's cheapest, crappiest little cassette machine that I love it. You actually can hear it on a couple of my other stuff, solo stuff. I've used it, but yeah, I think with this one it was just this really easy little chord progression, and when I recorded it back in, I was just, there's a button with the pause button, that little that you hear. It's me just messing with the pause button and like slowing down, like manually slowing down the cassette.
That's great.
To just get that like weird wobble and like unstableness to it, and like
great,
super lo-fi feel to it.
So I think you just sent that to me. I messed around, added a couple layers, but not much, because I just want to keep the character of that recording. This is some ambient, sounds like tape loop stuff to me. And then I took your recording here and again did it the octave down thing. Mm-hmm. So that's what you're hearing right now. I'll play everything together again here. Definitely continuing that haunting feel of the previous song. And this
I think it has
we just
that,
faded out and we end the album there.
I think what I like this is a closer too, because it's like haunting, but it also kind of has like there's like a little hope in it.
Yeah.
Almost.
Well, it's haunting production wise and like with the weird like pitch wobbles and everything. But the actual piano part, aside from the processing, is definitely like a hopeful feel. Yeah. So that definitely fits well with the whole theme of the album.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of sending it out.
Yes, sir. That's Du Nord. A look at our tracks.
Yeah, man.
This was fun to like pull these up because it's been so long since we've written and recorded these, and so it was fun to like, oh yeah, I remember that. And some of these things we don't even remember what we're playing at a certain section.
Well, it's crazy. It's like recapping almost 2 years of stuff that we were working on.
Yeah.
Nearly 2 years almost.
I mean, it seems like it's, in one sense, it seems like it's been like 7 years, and 2020 just being the year that it is probably
never ends.
Probably is part of that. Definitely a super fun project to work on with you, man.
It's definitely. I'm ready to start the sequel.
Let's do it.